Welcome back to the Red Letter Challenge, and we are on day number 12. The Sabbath is one of the most misunderstood among Christians today. Some Christians will go into an interview and say, I can work whenever. Others will say, no, Sundays are a deal breaker. I can't work that day. Why do some work and others don't? Why does Chick-fil-A give up more than $40 million a year by closing on Sundays while almost every other business stays open? Sabbath is from the Hebrew word which means rest. It was first used in Genesis 2 after God created the world. God created the world in 6 days and then rested on the seventh. Why? Was he tired? No. God rested because what he made was worth enjoying. We are created like our Creator, so we also create and rest. We work and we play. After all, if God takes a day to enjoy his creation, shouldn't we? Have you ever mowed your lawn? Even though it may not have been fun while you were doing it, afterward you took your shower, grabbed a drink, and then just looked at the lawn because you were so proud of your work. This is what Sabbath is like. You are resting and enjoying something you created. This is why God made Sabbath. We were made to work, but also made to rest. God instituted the Sabbath as a gift for the Israelite people in the Old Testament. God says, above all, you shall keep my Sabbaths, for this will be a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I, the Lord, sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath because it is holy for you. This was a way that people could prove they were in relationship with God. It was a big deal. People who broke the Sabbath or profaned it in any way were actually supposed to be put to death. Talk about harsh. But remember, the Sabbath was always meant as a gift, an opportunity to rest and to enjoy life. However, by the time Jesus came, the Pharisees had changed the Sabbath into something it was never meant to be. In their desire to uphold the law, they had written chapter upon chapter about what it meant to keep the Sabbath. These were some of the rules they came up with. You could only eat an egg which had been laid on the Sabbath if you killed the chicken for Sabbath breaking. It was not permitted to wear false teeth on the Sabbath. And it was fine to spit on a rock on the Sabbath, but you could not spit on the ground because that made mud, and that was work. The Pharisees twisted the Sabbath into something it was never meant to be. You can understand why the Pharisees were so upset with Jesus when it appeared he worked on the Sabbath. But Jesus knew what the Sabbath was really about. It wasn't about being miserable and doing nothing. It wasn't about sitting in your house like a bump on a log. It's about enjoying what God had created and what you have created through your work. Today, we also miss the big idea of the Sabbath. We work all the time because we like the things we get from it, money, possessions, or status. We look to work to give us some of the things God promises to give. In Romans 14:5 and 6, Paul writes, one person considers one day more sacred than another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind. Whoever regards one day as special does so to the Lord. Paul could have said, this is exactly how you should keep the Sabbath, but he doesn't. What he says is that regarding the issue, you just have to be convinced in your own mind that you are doing the right thing. Paul isn't telling us to abandon the practice, but to have flexibility in how we live it out. If you take Sundays off, great. If it's Saturdays, cool. Maybe one week it's a Tuesday morning and a Thursday afternoon and a Friday evening. As long as your motive is to the Lord and you are enjoying and resting in his creation, then it doesn't matter when you do it. Just make sure you do it. The more we keep the Sabbath, the more we find the life we were made for. And that was day number 12.